Okay, continuing on, we have of the three boundary types. So we have convergent that comes together, divergent that moves apart, and transform boundary which slides side by side and is the biggest culprit, if you will, for creating magnificent earthquakes. So let's find out more about transform boundaries. So it's when two plates slide together and rub against one another. So you have essentially the two plates, the forces of both plates pushing together, both essentially trying to go in opposite directions, and eventually there will be enough force that an unbalanced force will happen, boom, and the plates will slide really quickly, just like that, and bang, will create your earthquake. So, and that's what's kind of happening here, where you see that little red, that red circle. Eventually, boom, they will move, they'll move a little bit, and that's what will create that earthquake. And that's the direction. They don't definitely don't do that. Go back and forth, but yeah, they do move. So, yeah, they create earthquakes. And if you can see that picture on the right-hand side here, you have LA and you have San Francisco. Both of this part of California is trying to move up, and well, I guess you can say northwest, if you will. And then this part of California, this boundary is trying to move southeast. So eventually, it's going to continue to do that. It's going to continue to a lot of force, then slide a little bit, creating a little bit more, creating an earthquake and moving it a little bit. And eventually, this little piece will be sticking out, jetting out this direction, bringing LA closer to San Francisco. So that's kind of what's happening here. There's that old, saying that eventually California is going to fall off into the ocean. Not true. This little piece may stick out more in the ocean, but California is not falling off into the ocean. We may or may not be better for it if it eventually does, but who knows, right? But hey, if it does fall off, well, think of it like this. It's going to create some interesting land values as this continues to jet out. So I don't know, just one of those things. Very interesting to see how California will take shape over thousands of years that we won't be around for. But faults can be seen, from above. You can look down. If you're in a helicopter, you can see the San Andreas fault line, which has been, the reason for a lot of high magnitude earthquakes. So, over time you can see if a road happens to go across a fault line like this, eventually it will, crack and break and maybe even slide. This is a little dramatic, but something like this can occur over time. So road workers will need to work on that road to keep it okay. But yeah, so there's not really much to talk about when we're talking about transform boundaries. It really is that simple. They slide side by side, and they are responsible for earthquakes. The most common, most studied boundary in the world is the San Andreas Fault, right there in California. And back in 1989, there was an earthquake that had happened there during the World Series, during the San Francisco Giants and Oakland A's World Series, and I lived there during that time. It was a crazy, crazy earthquake, and I'll have to tell you the story one time. But again, not much to learn, to know as far as transform boundaries is concerned. Just remember, side by side, they slide past one another, and earthquakes can occur. That's it for transform.